Good morning, rock and rollers. I saw the countdown 3, 2, 1, and then I'm supposed to go live, and I pushed go live. When was the last time I was on time? Maybe never. But today I'm up and ready to go. I'm in Vancouver, BC, which is super fun. I had a great day yesterday. I was up here doing a show. It was like a private event a couple days ago. And so I stayed an extra day. And yesterday, boy, did I ever walk. Let's see here. Where's my app that tells me how many? Look at this. I always do this here. This is one of my walking cities. Yesterday was 24,000 steps. 25,000, really. Let's be fair. Let's round it up. And I think that translates to somewhere around 11 miles or something like that. I walked yesterday. So I do that. There's certain cities that I love to just walk in. Vancouver is one of them. And the Oilers won hockey. So that was good because I'm still an Oilers fan, even though I'm in Vancouver. They were nice to me. They didn't beat me up. I was in a nice place down by kind of English Bay, watching the game, watching the Oilers win 5-1, which means it goes to Game 7. And it was nice. It was awesome. Then I had some good sushi. It was fantastic. Everything's good. Can't complain. In a few minutes, I'm going to be joined by my friend John Ondrazik, my friend and cohort from Five for Fighting. He's going to hang for 15 or 20 or so and tell us all about a music education initiative that he's working on. And we're also just going to reminisce about old times and stuff because I just thought about it. I mean, I've been working with him. Well, I've known him over 25 years. It's crazy. I first toured with Five for Fighting in 2001, so that's 23 years ago. Crazy. But I actually auditioned to tour with them in maybe 98. So that'd be the first time I met John. I didn't get the gig. I have to ask him why not. But anyway, 2001, I joined and did a year and a half or so of touring with him. And then throughout the years, I did a few one-offs and different things with him. But since 2022 or so, I've been touring with him every summer. So it's just been really fun. So anyway, we're going to talk about some stuff that he's got going on, as well as we got some gigs coming up this week in Florida. So if any of you are in Florida, there's one in Clearwater, there's one in Orlando, and I'm forgetting the third date. So I'm going to have him tell us that because I don't even know where I'm going next week. But anyways, we got 3 Florida dates coming up. Still tickets available. Maybe you'd come out and see us. Ready. How are the music stores in Vancouver? You know, I went to the newish, which means it's 7 years old now, Tom Lee location yesterday. Tom Lee Music, just because I was walking by downtown. There's a store here, I think, called West Coast Guitars that I've never been to. It's a little bit off the beaten path. It's not downtown Vancouver or anything. It's out, I think it's kind of out Burnaby way, I think. It's the Sir dealer here. I've been meaning to get there, but yesterday I looked and it was like, I just don't think I'm going to get out there today. So I didn't make it out there, but it's supposed to be quite a good store, I think. And other than that, I actually didn't really check out any music stores other than Tom Lee yesterday. So I basically just walked like crazy yesterday, which was really nice. Took a little C bus over from downtown to Granville Island and hung out there which is really just the other side of a bridge. But it's fun because you can take these little C buses around downtown to go kind of between places. It's neat. Sort of like, I guess they do similar things in New York. But anyways, huge Kings fan John is. Yeah, that's right. Oilers shut him down. I'm going to have to turn this cruise a little bit on that one. Anyways. All right. So visited Vancouver Island in 2018, says Freed. Wish I'd stayed. My folks lived on the island for a while. Beautiful out there. Beautiful, for sure. It's the best climate in Canada, they say. It's a little less rain than Vancouver, because Vancouver can be pretty rainy. That's the only thing. It's a beautiful day today. You can't see because it's a little blown out, but it's all blue skies out there, actually. Gorgeous. Yup. Let's see. Did you ever see Neil Young and Crazy Horse? I never did. And even lately, and my buddy Corey's been playing bass for like, I don't know, at least 8 years or something like that with Neil. And I still haven't seen Neil. And I never saw Crazy Horse. I just never caught them. I don't know. It's too bad. But I like Neil Young a lot. I became a Neil Young fan around the early 90s when he put out Harvest Moon. It connected with me, that record. I didn't get it before that. Wasn't really a Neil Young fan before that. And then when I heard that record, I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. And it was around the same time I sort of started really getting into like the Joni Mitchell album that was out then called Turbulent Indigo, which has some beautiful guitar playing by Mike Landau on it. So I sort of, got into Joni and Neil, and I was like, wait a minute, these are all these Canadian singer-songwriters that I'm sort of all of a sudden discovering in my early 20s, because like I was a rock kid and I liked hard rock and stuff like that. And I didn't really listen to that much else. And then you expand your listening a little bit when you get a little older. And I went through a whole Canadian singer-songwriter phase. And now I love it all, when I hear Gordon Lightfoot now, or, it's just like, oh yeah, that song. I mean, it's like so good, songs of my youth. So, that I just heard, I took it for granted growing up, I guess, and hearing AM radio, where my mom had on in the car in the 70s and the 80s and stuff. And I didn't like it. I wanted to hear, AC/DC or something, or Van Halen. Speaking of which, AC/DC rocked 2 days ago. Watched a bunch of it. My buddy Matt on drums and Chris on bass. They sound great. Everything's cool. So I'm going to catch them end of or beginning of July. I'm actually going to catch them at Wembley. So I can't wait. It's going to be fun. Thank you, Pete, for making Sundays something to actually look forward to. Hey, thanks. And thanks for the super chat. I appreciate that. Yeah. I look forward to it every week too. Absolutely. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Chris says, can't think of Vancouver without thinking of DOA, classic punk band. Yeah, DOA. There was some great punk out of Canada, right? And SNFU from Edmonton. Good stuff. Good stuff. And of course, Vancouver, where many great records were made in the very unassuming, from the outside looking Little Mountain Sound. You had Aerosmith and Motley Crue, Bon Jovi, and everybody going there to make records in the 80s. It's such a beautiful city, too. Such a beautiful city. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So let's talk about this for a few minutes. That was a killer little track in to demo the Friedman Plex. Will it be on the next album? I don't know. It's a great sounding amp. Terrific. I'm glad you liked it. Fun song. It does. A lot of folks have asked what the difference is between the SL67 and it, and I don't have an SL67, so I haven't been able to side by side them. I do have a 50-watt 1972 Marshall JMP. My JMP sounds a little leaner, like in the bass, and these Plex sounds a little fatter. And I was talking to Dave about that, and I guess it's a spec of caps between the preamp and the power amp and stuff like that. He sort of opts for the slightly fatter spec, something along those lines. And it just sounds a little different, than my, but it's right there. I mean, it's very super similar, to it. It's just like as different as you would find two vintage ones to be. So it's a really good sounding amp, and has that ability to add the bright on the normal channel, which opens up a whole array of tones. And if you do any kind of blending, I knew a lot of people would crank it and shred through it and all that stuff because it's a Friedman, and I wanted to kind of make sure I put a healthy segment of that video in where I focused on the cleaner stuff that's available. A lot of players used Marshall's clean. I mean, Andy Summers comes to mind for sure. And if you can imagine the sounds that I was dialing in clean and then adding a compressor and an Echoplex and a chorus to it, you'd have Andy Summers, I think. So there's, a wide range of tones available on the amp, and it's not all just about the dirt and, the grind and all that, but it definitely excels at that stuff. It's awesome. So, yeah. When you're in London, visit the new Gibson garage store. Yeah, I've been to the one in Nashville. I should do that. Should go check it out. I kind of like that. Anybody see that new Epiphone cornet? It's really cool looking. I know they've been doing some things with their headstocks lately that are different and stuff, but there's some, you don't need to worry about a headstock on a cornet because it's the classic one that they were when they were vintage, and it just looks cool. Seems like a great option for somebody that wants a kind of Les Paul Junior / SG Junior vibe, and quite, reasonably priced and all that. So they're doing some neat things lately. My guitar tech Bernie was telling me that he got a Epiphone Firebird that's and he just replaced the truss rod cover with a Gibson one, and then it says Gibson on it. But it's some sort of custom shop one or something, and he said it's amazing, basically feels like a US custom shop guitar. So pretty cool, kind of neat. If you guys haven't seen the new cornet, it looks really neat. Check it out, see what you think. Yeah. Arthur says that he sent me a killer cover on Instagram. The guitar player is using a double neck to play some Chris Cornell. I'll have to check that out. I will. Going to be in Vancouver next week, says Nick. Anything to do? Well, I would just go to Granville Island and go to the public market there and maybe sit outside at Bridges, which is just kind of like a bar, restaurant, pub, and have a beer or something, or, glass of wine or some lunch or something. It's nice there. If you get a minute, go to Kitsilano Beach and just walk. And you can walk from Granville Island to Kitsilano Beach along kind of by the boats and the little harbor there and stuff, and then just kind of by a little park and all the way from Granville Island to Kitsilano. It's beautiful. So I would recommend that. And if you're staying downtown, take a water taxi from downtown over to Granville Island, because that's fun. And then I would go to Gastown, maybe, for, there's some cool pubs down there, and bars and restaurants and stuff like that. And it's just a cool looking hood that has got a real vibe to it. It's an old part of downtown. I can show you what it looks like. I took a bunch of pictures yesterday. So I would say those two things would be really fun. If you've got some free time and you want something to do, I would say if it's a nice day, ride a bike around Stanley Park. This is what Gastown looks like. Kind of, it's all lit up and beautiful old buildings, and it's just kind of a vibe down there. It's just a nice old sort of part of downtown that's got great restaurants and stuff. But yeah, you can rent a bike close to the entrances of Stanley Park on either side. Stanley Park is one of the most beautiful parks. If you get to go check it out, it's the biggest city park in North America. I do believe it's bigger than Central Park. Absolutely massive, and it's right just past the west end of downtown. And so rent a bike, and you can actually bike the seawall, which goes all the way around the park, all the way around. So you're riding with the park on one side and the ocean on the other side, all the way around. And it's gorgeous. It's just beautiful. So I would recommend doing that. At night, maybe for dinner or bars and stuff, Yaletown's really cool too. You can go there somewhere in Yaletown. And that's it. I don't know. That's a lot. English Bay. If it's a nice night, nice for the sunset, English Bay, which is right by downtown too. It's part of kind of the west end of downtown, right by Stanley Park. I did that last night. Walked, as you can see in my Instagram story, as I was walking down English Bay, and almost got attacked by a flotilla of geese, baby geese. It was cool. So that'd keep you busy all day if you did all that, and it'd be a great day. It'd be a great day. I guarantee it. There's a super chat there I'm going to grab. That's David. And David says, for Coffee Fund, got the Celestian Gold and the Sir Ombre. Thanks for the Coffee Fund donation. I appreciate that. Thanks for the recommendation. Oh, in the Sir Ombre, you put a Celestian Gold. Up to 4 Sir guitars, including Gold Top Signature. Awesome. 3 Ibanez, Car Rambler, Victory Sheriff. Excellent. Sounds like you've got quite a collection. Quite a collection there. So the gold sounds good. I bet it probably sounds pretty darn good, right? I would think. I'm turning up the screen here because it's a little dark for me with all my floaters and visual issues. Oop. Let me turn that off. Alarm there. All righty. Well, I see John Andrazik has entered the control room, and I'm gonna just bring him into the live stream here. We're going to talk about a few things. He's got some interesting things happening. We've got some interesting things happening, including a bunch of gigs coming up this week. Here he is, my good friend John.
Hey, Pete. How are you, man?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you?
So I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, that's right. All right. Hey, go Canucks.
Yeah. Well, no.
Sorry. Well, you got a game 7 tomorrow, so
we got a game 7. That's right. Yeah, I was so excited. So I watched that here yesterday in a little bar, and I tried to keep a low profile because.
Well, you always take out my Kings every year, so you got that on me.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
But not that sorry.
I know.
Sorry. Good to see you. Hey, first off, we've got some gigs coming up this week in Florida. Clearwater, Florida, as well as Orlando, and I'm forgetting the third. What's the third?
Well, so Wednesday's Clearwater, Thursday's Orlando, and then Saturday we're in Atlanta, Peachtree Corners for a free show. I think we did one of those like 20 years ago, like at Peachtree out there.
We may have that. I mean, it certainly sounds like it's familiar and something we would do, right?
Yeah.
I seem to remember. That's amazing. So you and I go back. I mean, I was just mentioning that to the folks in the stream that. I think I first met you in '98 when you had your first record out and you were touring. And I auditioned. I didn't get the gig then, but I came back a few years later and you decided to hire me.
How could you not get the gig? I don't understand that.
I was green.
You know who actually I think was playing was David Levita, our buddy David Levita.
Oh, I would have picked him too. You did the right.
Well, you know, all that happened after that was you went on to play with Melissa Etheridge, Soundgarden, the iconic bands in the world. And I was so
Soundgarden, but Cornell.
Well,
yeah.
To me, Cornell is Soundgarden, but I appreciate it. But you know, when you were available to come back a couple of years ago, it was like putting the whole family back together. So it's been such a blast, and we're all so grateful to have you, man.
So full circle to come back and play with you, and really, really fun. We've just been having a great couple last summer with the Bare Naked Ladies. We were talking about that the other day at rehearsal. It's just like one of the most fun tours that I've ever been on. It
was totally, you know, adult rock star dad summer camp.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I mean, we're talking about the gig. I think we were in New Hampshire. We're literally 5 minutes after we walked off stage, we were in the pool.
Yeah.
On a hot summer night, watching Bare Naked Ladies play their set on a big screen.
Yeah, floating in the pool with a beer, you know, watching. That venue it's in where is that venue? It's in New Hampshire. Do you remember the name of it?
I don't, but I mean,
either, but
But boy, I mean, they certainly take care of us. And, you know, when they have laundry for you, that's always your first grateful that they'll do your laundry for you. But the barbecues and the lakes and the bike trails, and, you know, it's amazing. We even got it. I do remember it was crazy hot that night in that gig. It was like, you know, 100 degrees, you know, and we were in a big metal, you know, auditorium, and it was a bake, but we only had to play an hour. I can imagine how Ed and the guys got through their 2 hours, probably lost 10 pounds each.
Yeah. It was a really, really hot gig. I remember that as well, but that's why we hit the pool right afterwards. And they had, do you remember they had s'mores? There was like a fire pit and s'mores. It's like,
I'm telling you, it was camping. I'm surprised we didn't just roll out sleeping bags and sleep there that night. But the whole tour was great. I mean, those guys are the best, and they're just such an amazing band and wonderful people. So, you know, they're not always like that, right, Pete? You know, sometimes it's not always like that, but you know, when you go out with people who are that great, and especially who've had that kind of success, it really makes the whole experience wonderful.
You just reminded me of something. Do you remember when we were touring with the Goo Goo Dolls? And they had a stage manager that was just a real jerk. And do you remember the gig where I think it was DC or something, where we were about to go on, and I decided I had to go to the bathroom like 45 seconds before we went on stage, and I started going to the bathroom. That guy blocked me from it's some theater in the, you know, and he sticks his arm out. He goes, no, and I go, I got to go to the bathroom. We're about to go on. And he goes, this is Goo Goo Dolls stage manager. And he says, no, it's for the catering people only. You can't use it. And I'm just like, it's just a bathroom in a theater. And I go, well, that's pretty stupid.
You know, I remember that gig like it was yesterday because, we're not allowed to cross that red line, and the caterers can cross and go to the bathroom, but not the opening act. And I mean, which is so weird because, you know, Johnny and Robbie are so great, right? You know, but, you know, I understand.
They were awesome.
Yeah, they're amazing. And sometimes people get on their little, you know, their little mountaintops, and it's kind of like radio programmers, right? You go to market 200 and you walk in, the program managers like, you know, I am the god of radio and do what I say, or I will not play a record 3 times. I mean, but you know, luckily for us, I mean, most of our experiences have been really great. And you know, it's a good education too. Like when you're the headliner, right? When you're the headliner, you need to understand that you don't want to be that guy. You want to be accommodating. You want to make everybody's experience great. Because as I said, I've had a few that weren't so great, and I've had many that are. But I think as a headliner, it's your obligation to make the experience for the opening act really great. You know, because it's not easy sometimes. You know, it's not easy to play for, you know, half empty stadiums or theaters and people walking in talking, and you know, it's we've all been there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think it's. And it's also just with age, you get older, and we all, like, everybody just wants to have a good time, and not, you know, there shouldn't be everybody helping each other out. And I mean, Johnny and those guys, they were all fantastic, but sometimes you can get folks on the crew that aren't. But those people, it's interesting. I mean, I talk a lot about that on the show. It's like, you want to be a lot of things when you're a touring musician or a crew person or anybody that's a part of the whole thing. You want to be a problem solved and just a good vibe. And, you know, the kind of person that other people want to be around, know when to talk, know when not to, respect people's space, like all that stuff. And then it's just amazing what happens. You find yourself 30 years later down the road, and you've got a lot of friends, and everything's good, and you get hired still, and hopefully, you know.
Well, you know, it's really about being a professional in whatever industry you're at. It's not just music. It's, you know, it's all about relationships, whatever you're doing, whether you're, you know, whether you're a manager of Albertsons, or whether you're a rock star, whether, you know, you work for Amazon, whatever. It's all about relationships. And, you know, one of the blessings about being Five for Fighting, not a band, is that I'm fortunate where I can reach out to the best people in the world who are the best players, but also the best people. And that's like you, Randy Cook, of course, Sean Hurley. I met Sean, you know, he was playing with Vertical Horizon, doing the big bass toss across the stage. And then he went to play with Mayer. And then, of course, you know, now he's with us. And Randy Cook, nobody's better. Talk about just a burst of happy energy all the time, always helping, and one of the best drummers in the world. I mean, it's just for someone like me, I just, you know, pinch myself every night when I look at you guys. And same with my string quartet, you know, the elite players of the world. So it's, for me, it's been such a blessing to play with world-class talent who are, frankly, some of my best friends.
Yeah. I mean, you hit on something that I think is really interesting, which, because this isn't the only thing you do. You've got another family business that you're a big part of. And I imagine the experiences that you take from running that show just transfer over into music and the folks that you work with on a daily basis doing tours and stuff, right?
I think so. I mean, we have a family business and we make shopping carts, believe it or not. If you shop at Costco, you use our cart. One of the favorite moments of my life, when I bought my first CD, the American Town CD, in one of our shopping carts, which was 25 years ago. But yeah, it's, you know, it's about integrity. It's about saying you're sorry when you screw up. It's about being humble. You know, Precision Wire, you know, people start at minimum wage and they work 10 hours a day and they sweat, and, you know, but over time they put their kids through Ivy League schools. You know, I see the American dream every day at Precision Wire. And I really try to apply that to the music business. Is, you know, you still have to make a payroll. You still have to cover your budget. It's still a business. But at the same time, it's about relationships and being humble. I mean, you know, you're a great example. You know, you have your business, your internet business, and you have the rock star business where you're one of the best guitar players in the world, but you're also a very humble guy. I mean, if something needs to be done, you'll certainly stand up and say, we need to fix this. We've had an issue or two of those in the last tour. But I think we all realize, we're so blessed to do this, just to do this and have people come and we can actually play and people respond and they sing. I mean, I still every time, we do a show or I hear my song on the radio, it's like, I don't take it for granted. And I think that's a big part of any industry and also just being a more happy person.
Yeah. Living in a state of gratitude all the time is a big thing that I've been, being present, not lamenting too much and just being happy. I went for a walk this morning. I was thinking about a walk down to Cole Harbor. It's beautiful here, just gorgeous. And I was like, be here right now. It's beautiful.
When you only got 100 years to live, buddy.
Yes. You had a hit with that one.
Live in the moment. Live in the moment.
You know what's amazing about that song is I think one of the most powerful things that songwriters can do is connect on a level where everybody can relate, and that 100 years is such a great song lyrically that way, because that is everybody's story.
We're all in there, unless you're 102, and God bless you if you make it to 102. But yeah, I think that song, just because everybody is in there, has a piece of it, and Superman, which is basically just our innate humanity. It's like, we can't be superheroes, we can't be everything for everyone, and it's not easy to be me. And I think we all at times of our life can relate to that, because at the end of the day, we're human. So I think, some of these songs are really post-it notes to myself, because frankly, I'm not very good at living in the moment. I future trip, I dwell on the past. And, and every musician understands hitting the wall of the music industry, trying to succeed and not just wanting to be heard. Everybody who's listening to you, we've all been there or we're there right now. We just want to be heard. We just want to be given a chance. And when I wrote Superman, that's kind of where I was. Certainly I couldn't write it today. It's very easy to be most of us, but I think that sentiment is something that pretty much anybody can relate to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Let's see. Adreed Musical says, I'm glad you guys sound down to earth. Well, thanks very much. And if you guys have any questions for John, feel free to ask away as well. I'm going to just pivot over to something that you've been working on, which is a kind of a music education initiative that sounds really interesting and exciting. It's something that anybody here in the chat or watching after can be a part of. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, just a little background. My mom, when music funding was cut in LA Unified, volunteered and came into our elementary school and started putting on musicals, full musicals, 5th and 6th grade. I was Tony in West Side Story, so take that for what it might be. But 40 years later, the kids in that class still reach out to my mom. They still talk about what a transformative experience it is. And I think those of us who've had music in our lives, whether it's a teacher or a mentor, we get that. But there's 4 million kids in America that do not have music in their schools. And last year, I wrote a song with 8 inner city Chicago students at Farragut Academy who had lost their music teacher. And we wrote a song called Let Music Fill My World. And they wrote all the lyric. I just wrote the hook. And through that effort, I partnered with a family in Chicago called the Tillman family. And we provided a music teacher for Farragut Academy for 3 years at a salary of $250,000. So they have a music teacher, which is awesome. So we're like, how can we take this nationally? And so we basically started what is called the Music Matters Challenge, which is happening right now. Think about like the ice bucket challenge for music teachers. And what it is it's very simple. Anybody, everybody can make a little video. Everybody likes to make videos in this TikTok, Instagram age. And all they have to do is tell a story about someone who made a difference in your life through music. And then play, sing a little bit of the song, Let Music Fill My World. You have amazing guitar players, watching us right now. If you can sing, play and sing. That's kind of what, Kevin Cronin and Alexi Lawless and other folks have done. And then upload your video to the website, letmusicfillmyworld.com. And we have some cool prizes. The first prize is 10 grand, which doesn't hurt. But also whoever wins will sit with me and Kaylee Tillman, and we'll provide another music teacher for a school in need. There's also a school prize, for kids here that maybe have a band at school or work at a choir or a marching band. we give a $25,000 grant to the school, but really it's about a way to have fun, express yourself. And I hope everybody listening right now enters the challenge, because I think, there's so many great musicians and there's so many great stories. I'm sure many people are grateful to you. And in rehearsal, I remember you telling me a story about someone who really mattered in your life, which was an amazing story. Would you mind kind of telling that to the folks?
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of set me on the trajectory that I've been on ever since. I had a music instructor who's still an active, gigging musician in my hometown, Edmonton. So that's Terry McDade. And Terry was a really, really important force in my life. First of all, he was probably the first person that made me aware, when I started going to lessons about age, 11 or 12 with him, made me aware of the fact that you could actually play music for a career. So that was huge, just to see somebody that was, because he was a gigging musician. His whole family plays, his kids at the time, he had young kids, and, they would play violin and solo and upright bass, and, they were and electric bass. His wife played. I mean, they were all active players. And so that was really amazing to see. It's like, wow, this whole musical family, and they're all kind of growing up and so proficient and everything. And so it was just amazing. So anyways, I went to Terry for a few years for music lessons. And then he suggested I go see another fella in town named Brian Hughes, who's an amazing guitar player and has gone on to play with all kinds of people, be a producer. He plays with Lorena McKinnon and tours with her to this day. So, but anyways, I went to Brian for a few years, but I would still stay in touch with Gary and go see him. And I remember I was about 17 or 18, maybe 18, I think. And I ended up going over to his house one day just to have a chat and stuff. And at this point, I was waffling a little bit in my wavering in my dedication to go to Los Angeles to play music. So my dad was, a businessman, and he was like, "You should really go to college," and he couldn't get his head around. I mean, I totally understand it. He couldn't get his head around kind of the idea of me being
right
a professional musician. So, and that was getting in my ear a little bit and in my head. And so I said to Terry, as I'm sitting there talking with him, 18 years old, I don't know. I think I'm going to go to college here and maybe, do that. And then we'll see about music after and that kind of thing. And he just looked at me and he was like, you're really, really good at this. And you should definitely reconsider that. I really think that you need to stick to your guns and do what you said you were going to do, all these. Because from the time I was 14, I decided to go to GIT and attend the Musicians Institute in Los Angeles and become a guitar player. And he just said, he gave me the confidence. I mean, he really did. He goes, "You're not, this is who you are, and this is what the path that you should follow." He was, and it turned me around, it really did, that one day. And I went, just the doubt coming from him, I needed to hear it from somebody that I trusted, and so that's the kind of effect that that somebody like that can have on your life, and then later on, we still stayed in touch all these years. My father passed away a number of years ago. Terry played music with me at his service, so this is a guy that's been in my life for a long time. Very, very important. So anyways, that's that story. And also his family has gone, I mentioned the whole family played as a band. They've gone on to win Junos, which is like the equivalent of the Canadian Grammy. Gone on to perform, because they perform as a band together, the McDades, and so they're really well. I mean, it's just like a success story. It's a beautiful family, beautiful story. So,
what was his when you started to have big success, and you're in these kind of stadium touring bands, and you became Pete Thorn? What was his? Did he call you? Was he excited for you? Was he told you, or what was his kind of response?
Like a little bit, I guess. When I'd see him over the years, he'd tell me that I remember going to see him one day, probably 10 years ago or something, and he had a student there, and the student was aware of who I was. I remember when I walked in, and he said, "Now," I just remember him being like, it was almost like a father figure sort of pride.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And the student was kind of like, wow, remember I told you all about Pete? And it was just kind of cool, you know.
Of course.
It was really,
Yeah.
really neat, you know. But and so it's something else, you know. And yeah, so I just love the idea of what you're doing and the importance of music education in schools, and also just music education in general, how these people, because I've definitely got that story. I mean, he totally has had a major impact on my life. So.
Yeah, you know, and if you look at the metrics too, you don't have to make a career of being a musician to feel the effects of having a music teacher in your class, right? I mean, if you look at the data, schools, you know, especially at a young age, kids that have a music teacher in their class, they do better in the sciences. They have better mental wellness. It's a way to express themselves. They have a much easier time collaborating, working with people, because music's so collaborative. So very few people are going to have a career in music, but I think music can carry people through their lives. Just playing piano, singing with your families, you know, playing an instrument, the discipline of learning how to play an instrument. So our job is to not, you know, this is not one and done. We're going to do the Music Matters Challenge, and then, you know, our mission is to not stop till we have a music teacher in every American school, especially, you know, the inner city schools that don't have the funding for it. But it's also a lot of fun. So I hope a lot of the folks listening, you know, make your video, tell your story, shred on a guitar, playing Let Music Fill My World. It's all the information's on letmusicfillmyworld.com. And the contest ends at the end of the month. So there's only, you know, a couple weeks left. So still time to get into your entry. And then there'll be a public vote. We'll select 10 winners for each category. And then the public will vote on the grand prize winner. And we'll have a lot of fun.
That sounds so good. I'm gonna go there and just put the link in the chat here. Let music fill my world.com. There we go. And I'll also post the link.
Thank you.
In the video description. There, I've got it. There you are. I see you. The video. I'm just going to post this link in the sec here. There we go. So go there, folks, and check it out, because there's some great prizes, and it's a great cause, great opportunity. And John, I'm going to see you this week, so in about 48 hours or something like that, I think, or not quite, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah, we'll see you Tuesday, you know. And before I go, I have to pull out a guitar and show you I'm not a guitar guy, but I do have to show you like what I think is a cool guitar. And this
yeah, of course. Let's check it out. So you are a guitar guy.
As you know, Pete, I have a '65 Mustang car that my dad bought the week I was born that sits in my garage. This is my '65 Mustang guitar.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So, so I take the guitar for drives in the '65 Mustang. I'm very strange that way, but of course, you know, we love you and Mr. Cobain, and so I had to share this with your audience. I'm not going to play it, but I'll show it to you.
Is it original custom color?
Yes, sir.
That is so cool. I think is that Daphne, or no? What color is that? It's not Fiesta. It's I'm forgetting the name. The darker Fender red. Maybe it is Fiesta. But anyways, that's amazing. Yeah, that's a thing of beauty. Awesome. Thanks for showing us that. That's so rad.
All right, buddy.
Okay, well, great to see you. I'm gonna carry on, folks, but I'll say bye to you, John, and I'll text you later and stuff and say hey. But thank you so much for coming on the show. And,
thanks for having me. Hopefully, we'll see many of you folks at the shows. It's always fun to see, you know, some of your disciples come out and chat with us backstage. So I'll see you Tuesday. Thanks so much, buddy.
Okay, you bet. Take care.
All right. See ya.
All right. That was awesome. Oh, Dakota Red. That's what it is. That guitar was Dakota Red. I was thinking Fiesta, and then I thought Daphne, and I'm like, no, Daphne Blue is the. Yeah, you're right. That's Dakota. Thank you. Can always count on you folks, especially you, Ben. So that was really nice to have John on. So to check out the music Let Music Fill My World website. Sorry, I posted it there in the chat a little while ago. And you can go and upload a video, and who knows, maybe you'll be a big winner. And it's also just for a great cause. So I'm all about music education. Absolutely. All right. Let's see who we got here. We got Holly saying hi to everybody. And Stealth Parrot is asking, was that John's home studio? Sorry, I should have just grabbed that question while he was on, but it's hard to keep track of everything sometimes. But yeah, that is John's studio, and he does a lot of work in there. He does a lot of recording, not just demos and stuff like that. I think it's for, he's got a full-blown kind of situation there with the piano and everything, and he can release records with the stuff that he does there. Let's see who else we got here. Looking through the questions, looking through the chat. You guys were mentioning that there was a strange, like a little hum going on background noise. I've heard that too, but sometimes you just got to carry on. We don't have an engineer when we're doing these things. You know what I'm saying? It's just us. All right. So here's a question. Have you checked out the Wampler Mofetta distortion pedal? I assume it's a MOSFET distortion. I haven't. Generally speaking, MOSFET distortions are something I like. Crazy Tube Circuits has put out some. There was the Mosferatu years ago. That was really good. They sound really amp-like. And also MOSFET power amps and stuff. They're just some of my favorite, like non-tube, like the old Hafler have one. And I think the H&H are MOSFET, aren't they? Eddie Van Halen and everybody used to use, Steve Stevens. So there's something going. I don't understand what MOSFET is exactly, but it's a type of solid state design that seems to kind of replicate the tube thing pretty well. How's the weather here? It's gorgeous right now. Beautiful day. I'm not going to get to hang, unfortunately, because I got to go to the airport after this and go home. But yesterday was great. It was a little crappy in the morning, and then it cleared right up, and it was super nice. Still cold at night here, though. I had on a jacket and a hoodie underneath, and I was still like, all right, a little bit. Cheers from Montreal, says Glenn. Good to be up in here in Canada with you, for sure. So the other thing I did this week was I put out a video for the Diamond Tremolo. You may or may not have seen. That's a really cool sounding pedal, and I found that it really accurately nails the tone of the original. They're using the original chips, the Panasonic chips that, for the first certain, I don't know, it's like they've got hundreds of them, but after they run out, they say they're going to use the replacement. That's the newer version of the chip that basically sounds the same. But I mean, it's essentially the exact same design as the original because the chip's the same. And I found I was able to get a super similar sound. I basically recreated the piece of music that I used, that I wrote for the original Diamond vibrato demo I did 9 years ago. It was really interesting because that pedal, I was looking at it on Reverb, and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe like how expensive they've become. A bit of I think they're a bit of a cult classic too, kind of, because Tame Impala, the Kevin Shields, is that his name? He uses them a lot. And it's like a real big part of his guitar sound. So you know how it is when somebody that certain segment of the guitar playing public admires uses something, can make it very, very popular. Good name for a band, the MOSFETs. I actually like that, actually. Yeah, that was good. MOSFET make great microphone circuits, a type of transistor that works similar to a tube. Cool. What else have we got here? Metal oxide field effect transistor. There you go. MOSFET. What's the S? Metal oxide that would be MOSFET. All right. The Diamond vibrato is not stereo. No, it's not stereo. Well, it's not really. See, with analog units, this is part of why you don't see many analog stereo delays, analog stereo chorus. Stereo means you'd have to have two chips. So basically, you got to have the whole circuit replicated. And that goes for analog delay, that goes for analog chorus, that goes for vibrato, it goes for anything. It's why when digital, so the first digital units come out, stereo became quite common. But even the first digital delays, you know, the SD 3000s, etc., they weren't stereo. But people quickly figured out that you could do stereo, I think, much easier with digital than you can with analog. So it's like sometimes I see it as a complaint with the Sir Discovery delay, which I think is one of the best sounding analog delays ever. It'll also work as a chorus. But they were like, oh, it's not stereo. It's not stereo. It's like, yeah, you'd have to have basically two of them, you know, like the entire circuit replicated. It's already an expensive pedal. There's a lot that goes into the circuit. You know, the chips and, you know, it'd be a $1,500 analog delay probably to have it stereo. It'd be cool, be amazing, but be really expensive. So, yeah. Would a small box 50 Mesa 212 and an aux box work well for live classic rock? Yeah, sure. I mean, you can get a great sound out of that. Aux to front of house, you know, with the cabinet of your choice. Mesa 212 sound pretty good with the small box 50. It's V30s probably in that cabinet. They're not my favorite for everything, but they do work pretty good for a lot of things, and especially if you have the amp kind of set neutral or a little on the darker side, they can sound great for classic rock. I just find them a little, like with a plexi, they're a little, it's just not quite right. You need a little more of a filter for a plexi, I find. But any practice amp suggestions? I mean, I love the Katana stuff, the Boss stuff. There's so much good stuff now. I mean, my little Black Star Fly 3 is a battery powered thing that's this big and $75, and I love that for just warming up backstage and stuff. I mean, you can get little, you know, positive grid, you know, that every amp sound under the sun and in the same size as well, that are all modeling with full effects and everything. My new X one, I've got one of those as well. It's got built-in drums and rhythm patterns and things, and, you know, delay and reverb. And it's just crazy what they have now. So Travis says the Katana is nice. I mean, it's hard to go wrong with Boss for sure, and Black Star Fly 3 is fab, says Classic Rock Granddad. I like your name. Here's a little more info about the Ibanez, or sorry, about the Wampler. Wampler took the Ibanez Mostortion, which uses a MOSFET IC, then added MOSFET clipping. Zen Drive and the OCD use MOSFET clipping. Oh, is the OCD MOSFET? I didn't know that. That's interesting. OCD is always a great pedal. It all makes sense to me. The Zen Drive as well. I love that pedal. Used to use it a little more than I have recently, but it's terrific. They just sound smooth or something, like MOSFET pedals, generally speaking. There's a smoothness to them that's nice, that kind of reminds me of tube amps, you know, without sounding like they don't, it's like, doesn't sound like pedal distortion, if that makes sense, if you know what I mean, or pedal overdrive. It sounds more like it's coming out of the amp, or at least it bonds with the amp well. That's my experience. Just won a Nemesis ADT delay from Source Audio a few days ago. It seems extremely versatile so far. Any experience or thoughts? Really like them for the most part. The only issue that I ever had with it was it definitely wants to work at pedal level. So if you've got a hot effect loop, it seemed to be a little finicky if I was hitting it with too much level. But what an amazing pedal. I mean, the Nemesis has, if it's the same one I'm thinking of, it's got reverb too, right? Which is one of the only pedal effects you can get out there that's super high quality with a digital delay and reverb in one pedal. There's not that many of them. There should be more. Should be more. If somebody really wants to make an amazing pedal, they should make a digital delay and reverb with true analog drive-through and flexible routing, so you could run them in parallel. That'd be a pretty cool pedal. And maybe why not just have mod while you're at it? Now you basically got a full-blown, you know, I don't know what, but that'd be pretty amazing. If you had an effect unit that had an analog drive-through path with flexible routing to either route effects in series or in parallel, and it did mod, and it did delay, and it did reverb, that'd be a hell of a pedal. Yeah. Come on, Strymon. Put it all in one. Okay. What else have we got here? Oh, this is really interesting. Still in Leather says, my uncle who does live in Edmonton is a founding member of Streetheart and got the guys together for Loverboy. That's awesome. Yeah, I know about the Streetheart Loverboy connection because, of course, Matt, that was his name, right? Matt was the drummer, original drummer. Fernet, right? Have I got that right? Last name. And he played in both Streetheart and Loverboy, right? And of course, Brian McLeod played with Streetheart too, right? This is all very Vancouver right now. Oh yeah, Robert Valdez there with a super chat. Says, thanks for recommending the Waza Blues Driver. Great OD and sustain with pearly gates through a CA5. Is that a Mesa or something? Not sure about that. But have you tried the Octonaut Hyperdrive? I have not. But hey, I'm glad that Waza Blues Driver worked out. I feel like that's an under the radar pedal, like a really, really good pedal. I need to listen to it more actually, because I heard my video for it. Just, I come across my own videos sometimes on YouTube and I'm like, I wonder what that sounds like again. And I listened to it and I was like, man, that pedal sounds good. And I mentioned it to you, I think a week ago or so, or maybe 2 weeks ago. But I want to plug that thing back in and maybe like revisit it, because it might be something I can use now for different things. Kind of putting together a new board right now, so I gotta pick the pedals carefully because it's a smaller size board than my main one, but not too small. So we'll see. How do you memorize song structures for auditions? I just go through songs methodically and kind of get them section by section by section. And to me, they're like a roadmap. It's like remembering how to drive to the grocery store. You do it the first time, you might follow the maps. And you do it the second time, you might still do a turn here or there. I can't quite remember. And by the fourth or fifth time, you've got it. And that's it. It's the same thing. But I tend to go section by section by section by section in a song when I'm learning things. So I'll learn the intro, and then I'll learn the verse, and I'll really get it, and then I'll learn the chorus, and I'll really get it, and then I might go back to the beginning, go, let's review up till here. And then I carry on with the bridge and the solo or whatever. And, maybe I leave the solo till the end or something, but then if it's a difficult solo, but I kind of do it like that. And then they just sort of get ingrained in my brain. And then it's like the structure it's like driving to the grocery store. Like I say, it's like almost like you can't forget. You do it without thinking. After a little while, you just know where to turn naturally, it's the same concept to me. Yeah. So that's how I do it. Let's see here. I've got the new XMG30 model. Or any tips for setting up sounds if you're going straight into a Mac for recording? It does have an IR loader in it, right? Try using some, doesn't it? I think it does. I'm trying to remember with the new X right now, because I can't remember everything about everything all the time. But if it does, try. And that generally goes a long way towards, oh wow, there it is, that's the biggest one. There's some good cabs that are in it, but the cab sims on most modelers, to be fair, I find if I just load, Celestians to me are like the closest IRs I've found that are not hyped, and they just sound like kind of like putting the mic on a speaker. It's like, you can, it's like, I know I can trust it. The Celestion Dark 157, which isn't that dark, kind of just a right middle of the road, put a 57 in front of a speaker. So in other words, like Dark 1 on a position on a 412 with a greenback, or on a 412 with a V30. What that sounds like sounds a lot like what it sounds like when I put a mic on a speaker and just pull up the fader and go, yeah, there it is, the 57 on in a good sort of middle of the road position. So try that. Load one of those in the new X and tell me it doesn't sound good, or don't tell me that it doesn't sound good. Super chat there. I meant category. Oh, you got a category 5. I remember those. Yeah, I got you. With 5881s, great sounding, lots of touchability. Sounds great with my Zen drive. Thank you. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. What fret size do I like? I like 6100s. On some guitars, 6105. You know, depends on the scale length and stuff like that. But generally speaking, I like big frets, the big ones. Bigger the better for me. I don't have a problem with pushing too hard or any of that stuff, or fairly light, you know, with my left hand, so I can stay in tune and all that. I never had an issue with any of that. I kind of grew up on big frets. Maybe that's what it is. You know, my early guitars it was the 80s. They had jumbo frets. That's what I like. I just feel like a more positive connection with the neck, like a more, you know, like you're holding the string and you can feel it more. When the fret's small, I feel like it just feels weird to me. It feels like the action's higher or something. Or like when the fingerboard's pushing back against my finger, you know, it's like I don't have as positive of a feel as when I can just feel the string and the fret. You know, it's when I just feel the strings and frets, I kind of like that. If I can feel too much fingerboard, I don't like that. Hope that makes sense. So that's just how I kind of bond with guitars. Oh, somebody's saying the Source Audio Collider. Yeah, you might be right. Maybe the Nemesis is just a delay and not reverb. I don't know. I can't remember sometimes. But yeah, maybe you're right. It's the Collider that is their reverb and delay in one. Anyway, they're a little bit under the radar. Like, I feel like they make some great pedals, you know. They're tremolo that's like a spring. It's called this. I don't remember the name of it right now, but it's the Source Audio Spring Verb and Trem in one. One of the best sounding spring reverb creations I've ever heard in a pedal, for sure. It's got a real kind of 3D kind of boingy thing going on to it that sounds really great, and good tremolo too. What app or software do I use to learn songs? So I use, generally speaking, Transcribe from Seventh String. It's a $50 program. It's awesome. Love it for learning stuff. That said, here's an interesting thing. I follow this woman on Instagram, and she does Logic tips, and she knows everything about Logic. She's amazing. I can't remember her name right now, but she's always like, did you know that when you're using Logic, and man, she knows a lot about Logic. What is her name? Yeah, there she is. Sabrina Seidman, SEIDS _ on Instagram. Check out this lady's page, man. It's so killer. Like, she does all these Logic tips all the time, and she knows how to do stuff that I just don't like. I've used Logic for 20 something years, and I don't know half of what she knows. Whenever they come up with a new update, she's always super on top of it and always says, oh, here's what it does and here's what it does, and you're like, oh my god, that is cool. She demos things in a cool, like, she's basically does what I do with guitar stuff, but with Logic, and very educational. But anyway, she showed recently that if you guys know what Moises is, it's an app for your phone that'll allow you to separate out parts. So I've been using that. So I can just actually show you really quick here, because I think I've got Moises on my phone. It'll basically separate things. Let's take just a second. It'll allow you to load any song, and then you can separate out the bass and the drums and the vocals, and then you've got little faders, and you can turn them all up and down. It uses AI to kind of, you know, separate the different parts of a song. And boy, does that ever work good and is helpful for learning things. Sometimes the guitar can get a little muddled. If it's a guitar tone that's super stereo and it's kind of blending in there with keyboards and stuff, it can't quite get it. But if it's a straight up kind of rock thing, and especially if it's kind of mono, for sure, for Van Halen and stuff like that, it's like, you know, no problem. It works really well. But so what I was going to say is, Sabrina, I think her name is, she showed the other day in Logic that it's got that built in now. So it's basically got they call it stem separator or something like that. And you can basically just pull a song into Logic, and it'll separate it all out into different stems of drums and bass. And so pretty amazing. But so, like, for instance, I did Jukebox Hero here by Foreigner, and if I turn down everything except for the drums, let me go to a part where there's lots of drums. It's just got the, so this is the Moises thing, and you get these here's the bass. Probably can't hear that. It's hard to hear, but there's the guitar. Pretty good, right? It's like, you know, if you're learning the solo, it I mean, it's pretty awesome how it works. So that's Moises. But anyway, you can do that in Logic now. And so that's helpful for learning songs. 100%. York makes great ARs, says Trolls. Yeah, they do. Absolutely. I find the York IRs are generally a little more not processed, but like produced sounding, but good. You know, I mean, if you want a big sound and you want it to be really like, it's almost like mix ready, that's York to me. Yeah. Okay. Heading through the chat here. Rob says, I used to play with Scott Smith before he joined Loverboy. He was washed off. That's a terrible story. Washed off his boat off the coast of San Francisco. I remember that. He was sailing, and then he just wasn't on the boat anymore. And there was a storm, and he just, you know, it's an awful story. I remember that. And then Spider joined Loverboy to take over on bass. But yeah, that was a real tragedy. Tragedy. Sad event. I remember that. It was shocking. Earl says Logic Pro 11 was released. Yeah, you're talking about what I was talking about, I think. I am curious if anyone has to check out these new features in depth. Logic Pro 11. So one of them is that stem separator thing. Some of the other things are there's sort of player algorithms in there now that allow you to like add piano or add bass, almost like you know, and that's created a little bit of controversy. I think Sabrina, her name is, right? She did a post about it, and a lot of people were like, "This is, you know, we're kind of blowback. You know, this is going to put musicians out of work, and it's terrible." And you know, it's like you know, there's been artificial kind of, or you know, loops or like whatever of piano and bass or whatever forever. You know, so you know, guitar sample CDs and all that. It's not like it hasn't been going on for a while. It might be sort of next level, I guess, but you know, that's another feature that's in Logic now. What size frets are on your 65 Strat? I think they're 6105 size. It was refretted around 2007 or 8 when I got it. It had been refretted with really small vintage frets by Gruens, and I didn't like them once again. So even though they were kind of brand new, I was like, well, I just paid a lot of money for this guitar. I want it, and it's been refretted, so I'm not going to take a hit for refretting. I'm going to refret it with what I want. And so I put some 6105s in it. That said, it's kind of due for a dress. That guitar needs a little love right now. So I kind of want to give it to John Sir or something and see if he'll, you know, if I come over and cut his lawn for like a month, maybe he'll help fix it up, little fret dress and that kind of thing. Any thoughts on scallops? I scalloped a neck once with this in mind, that I like the big frets and stuff like that. So I scalloped a Strat that I had. It was a Fender Strat Plus, I think, seafoam green. I've had a couple seafoam green Strats over the years. It was the one from the late 80s, maybe 87 or 88. It had lace sensors in it and a 2-post bridge, and I scalloped it. Turned out okay. Wasn't, you know, totally a pro job, but it actually worked pretty good. I didn't go too far. I never hit the truss rod or anything like that, but I took out a lot of wood. I remember that. Like I might have lost one of the inlays with how deep I went. I can't remember, but anyways, somebody bought it, so I didn't, you know, ruin the guitar or anything. I eventually sold it a few years after that. I just, you know, I did it, and then I kind of tongue oiled the neck, and that was that. The True Spring, Michael says. Yes, that's the Source Audio Verb, the True Spring. Great sounding spring reverb. I did a video on it. What's this? Question from Jason. He asked earlier, right before John came on, back when you did KOT regular, what role did, or are you talking about when I used the King of Tone? How did I use it? So I really like the clean side on the King of Tone mostly, which later on became the Prince of Tone, I think. And that was the main side that I used. And I would use it just as kind of like the clean side to kind of kick the front end of the amp and sound. If you want, actually, you know what? Reference the video that I did. It was a Sir Rig Rundown video 2012 with Melissa Etheridge. So look for Sir Pete Thorn, Melissa Etheridge Rig Rundown in Long Beach. We were playing a venue in Long Beach. And I actually show the way that I had it set there. And you can probably see the knob settings and stuff and how I used it. And on that particular tour, I was using an SL68, and which was brand new then, and the Jim Kelly amp, which was also really new. And I was A-Bing those two amps. It was a really, really good sounding rig. And I ran all the effects in front of the amps on that tour. Just kind of very vintage. And it sounded good. It was cool. No stereo stuff. Went mono. I remember that because that was maybe my first tour where I got rid of the wet, dry, wet. I don't remember. I might actually. It might have been. I think I went stereo rig for a minute. Stereo rig after the wet, dry, wet. Kind of like I run now with some effects in the loops of 2 heads and 2 cabs. And then I went for that tour, full vintage, 2 amps, mono, clean, dirty, A being 2 vintage style single channel amps. And so anyways, that's when I had the King of Tone on the board. And you can see how I used it then. I used the red side a little bit, but I didn't use it that much. Not as much as just going to the dirty amp, you know. Yeah. High gain side, as they call it. So I really liked kind of the Prince of Tone sound that pedal did. That was how I really used it. Yeah. It's about 12:52. I'm going to go till 1, and then I'm going to split. I got to get out of here at 1 because I got a late checkout, but that's as much as they could give me. And I got to go to the airport and stuff. So there it is. There's the Logic expert. Search for her on Instagram. And Travis says, always looking for Logic tips. You will find that she is amazing at Logic. Really terrific. Yep. Somebody else is mentioning RipX as a phenomenal program for isolating tracks. I've heard good things about it. I haven't tried it, but I hear it's great. Yeah. There's some good tips here today for those that are trying to learn things and stuff, giving away all the secrets. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Got a Bassman for clean setup in my Helix with great results with Creamback IR. Using the Friedman-based one for dirt. Same IR, but it's not as good. Load a Celestion IR and use the Placator Friedman Helix preset and tell me it doesn't sound great. It's really good, actually. It's one of my favorite modeling dirty Marshall-y sounds is that Placator sim in a Helix with the Celestion. You know, just load the high gain 12157 mix of a greenback and a 412 and use it with a Placator. Tell me it's not awesome. Very good. Kind of start with all the knobs on 5 too. And I think the fat switch is on when you pull up the Placator. Maybe turn that off. Otherwise, kind of set it as you would a Friedman. Yeah. Could you see yourself recording an album in Luna? Actually, yes. I've thought about trying that, you know, just because, or at least mixing in Luna. And I think that might be actually what I would do because there's a few things about routing and stuff that I find, although it might not now be such an issue with the way that I use Logic, but certainly some of the MIDI stuff I found a little like, just because I'm so used to doing it in Logic. So but I have mixed only in the first time I ever used Luna, for those that don't know, it's the DAW that comes with UA software. And it's pretty awesome. There's a bunch of like virtual analog summing and virtual tape on every channel, tape machine, stuff like that. It makes it sound really good, I find. And it actually makes a difference. It sounds different than mixing in Pro Tools or in Logic or something. So it's a really cool. So what I did when I first tried Luna was I exported a bunch, not stems. I don't like this stems. More on that in just a second. So I'll come back to that, why I say that. But I exported all the tracks of the session out of Logic, just a session that I was working on. I pulled them all into Luna, and then I mixed in Luna. And then I compared the mix that I did in Luna to a mix I'd done out of Logic. And I really liked the Luna mix, actually, with all the summing and stuff like that. Now, so I might do that approach. Back to what I was just saying about stems. There's this thing about people, do you get the stems when you do a session? Like, do the engineer give you the stems? Individual tracks are called tracks. Stems are always mixes of things. So we don't want to screw up this terminology. It's really important because when for years and years and years, why you need to have the distinction. What a stem is like all the vocals mixed down to a stereo track. All the keyboards mixed down to a stereo track, all the drums on a stereo track. So you'll have your drums stem, your vocals stem, your guitars stem, and then you can basically kind of do a very kind of broad remix because you've got all the instruments in maybe like, 5 stems, 6 stems, something like that, right? That's what a stem is. It's a combination of things all blended down to a stereo file, generally speaking, or maybe a mono file, generally stereo. And then you can imagine how you could do remixes and stuff easy, right? You could pull the vocals out, you could pull all the drums and the guitars out for a section, do different things. And maybe if you need to do a radio edit or something, or like where they bleep out a word or something like that, if there's a swear, you could do things like that with stems, like pretty easy. But you don't have control over every single track. So when we're talking about tracks versus stems, tracks, exporting tracks, that's every single individual track in a session as an audio file. A stem, a combination of tracks that have all been blended down to one track. So hopefully that makes sense. I just see people like talking all the time about the stems. I've got the stems, and I can tell what they actually mean is the tracks, it's important to make the distinction. When working out, do you have days you don't want to go but have the best workout? You mean like working out, like actually exercising? Because I haven't done that for years. I ride my bike. I do that. But I fell out of going to the gym, man, a long time ago, 5 years ago. I haven't been to a gym in like 5 years properly. It was just awful, But I did walk 11 miles yesterday. So I get out and I move around. But I really need to get back into a gym routine. It's just I lived in a building up till 5 years ago that had a gym in it. So it was so easy. And I got into a routine of just wake up in the morning, make some coffee, run down to the gym. It was 30 seconds from my apartment, and then I moved and now I don't have my own gym and I'm too lame to go to LA Fitness or whatever. So anyway, I should get back into it. But somebody says it's Pete Townsend's birthday. Sure, Pete Townsend's birthday. That's awesome. Happy birthday, Pete. Stealth Parrot says, isn't Yngwie's entire fingerboard scalloped? I believe so. You guys, I got to go in a second here. I'm going to get charged for being in my room too long. So I got to split. Next week is a travel day on Sunday. I believe I will be returning home from my 5 for Fighting adventure. So I might need to do an alternate time for next week, which, as you know, I don't like having to do. But either that or maybe it's a thing where I can do an airport live stream, that kind of thing. If my flight isn't till the afternoon, maybe I can do it for an hour or hour and a half or something in the morning. So I do see a couple flights here. Let me see. see, the 26th, I believe I'll be flying home. I don't have the flight info right here in front of me. But anyways, I'll as I did for this, I'll try and put up a watch page early so you guys know if I'm going to be here or not next week. Yep, that's that. And then it looks like I'm going to have another situation on the 2nd where, man, I hate it. I get this pet peeve about, I take this so seriously. I get a pet peeve about when I've got flights on Sundays. It bums me out. Because it's like, man, I can't screw with Sunday Live. I get really adamant about that. But anyways, it says 12:35 p.m. I'm going to be flying the next week to, so I'm going to maybe come up with an alternate time for Sunday Live for the next couple of weeks, just due to all this stuff. And then after that, the June 9th, June 16th, June 23rd, I'll be good for all of those. June 30th, I'll be in Europe, but I can probably still do Sunday Live. We'll figure it out. Or maybe not. Maybe I change that one because I'm going to go see AC/DC. Anyways, that's too much information. This is boring. I'm going to go so that I don't bore you any further. But hey, thanks for tuning in, and thanks for your super chats, and thanks for being awesome. You guys are the best. Remember to check out John Androzik's Music Education Challenge. I'm going to put the link in. Once again, it is letmusicfillmyworld.com. I'm going to put that in the chat, or sorry, in the video description right now, so you can check it out and just click on the link and stuff like that. Please make a video and upload it. Who knows? You could win 10 grand or one of the other prizes. It's pretty cool. And then if you're in Florida, come out and see us in Orlando or in Clearwater, or Peachtree is a free gig outside Atlanta. If you're in the Atlanta area, come see me next week, man. Come see me rock. Okay. Love y'all. Everybody take care. Be nice to one another. Have a terrific week. Signing off from Vancouver, BC. See ya.